Hello, crafty friends. It is Jessica here. Welcome back to Jessie Kate Creates. Today's video is a part 2 of me crafting using some papers from the Jen Hadfield Peaceful Heart collection, along with some stickers I recently picked up at Michael's. I did say this is a part 2. In the first part of this video, I showed you the 4 different pattern papers I had, the stickers I was using, and kind of all the supplies I used. And at the end of that video, I showed you the 9 cards I made, all the scraps I had left over, and some stickers, another set of stickers I was going to use. So if you haven't seen that video, definitely go check it out. I will link it up here so you can kind of see where we're starting from and the supplies that we're going to be using to make these cards. Now, I was able to make an additional 11 cards from scraps and 1 full set of stickers. So let's see these cards, shall we? Okay, so like I said, we were working with scraps here, and this first card might look familiar because I was kind of playing around with the layout of this one at the end of the last video. So really happy with how this turned out. I really loved this cut apart that says everything you go through grows you. I thought that was really a nice little sentiment. Yeah, so I took a cut apart, the back side of a cut apart I didn't plan on using, and a little piece of metallic paper. I layered those together using some thin foam tape, so I think this has like 2 layers of dimension on it. And I really like how this came out. I made the layers kind of wonky just to add a little bit to the playfulness of the card. I did use this scrapbook.com thin foam tape. This is new to me, but I am loving this. Usually the foam tape I use is 2 millimeters. This is only 1 millimeter, so I can have double the number of layers, but it's still the same amount of dimension, which is great for adding layers to cards that are still very mailable. So I've really been enjoying in that. But yeah, this is the card. This scrap that I used for the background was not wide enough to cover the card base, and you'll see that on a lot of these cards. So I just let the edges of the card base show. I thought that worked out really well here since I was using a craft card base, which matched the colors of the pattern paper. I did finally finish off the inside of the cards. I kept these super simple, just a strip of coordinating pattern paper and the liner for the card. I thought about adding a sentiment inside, but these cards are so versatile. They could be encouragement cards, thinking of you just because, maybe even a happy birthday card. There's a lot you could do with this, and by putting a sentiment inside of it, I limit its potential. So I thought I would leave all of these cards blank inside so that if I send them to someone or someone purchases these cards, you know, you can write the perfect message to the recipient on the inside of the card. Okay, so that's our first card. The next 2 cards, I had not opened up the new set of stickers yet, and I wanted to challenge myself to make a couple cards using just the scrap paper and the small little stickers I had left over. So this first one, this is what we're working with. So I had some of the leftover circles, and this pattern paper in the background I did pull from the Jen Hadfield pattern paper pad I had in my stash, but the colors just worked so well. I mean, these blues match so closely to the color of the outfits on the girls, so I just had to do it. Now for the sentiment on this card, I went to my stash and I pulled out some alphabet dies so I could make a custom sentiment. I happened to use this die set from Creative Expressions. It is the Shabby Basics lowercase alphabet set. Use whatever you have on hand. Use whatever you have in your stash. This is just what I had in mind. I picked this up like 3 years ago, so I don't know if it's still available. If I can find a link for it, I'll put it in the description box below the video, but use what you got in your stash. It's going to work just fine. So I decided to do Exhale for the sentiment. I thought that was very fitting. And I did stack up, let me see, can you see that? I did stack up the die cuts. So I used 2 layers of 100-pound cardstock and then 1 layer of gold on the top so that it would get a little bit of dimension. Otherwise, everything on this card is nice and flat. And then I had this like little sticker with these like little balancing stones. And it just fits so perfectly nestled in here above the sentiment. I like the way that worked out. I thought that was cute. Well, I had a little scrap of paper with one of the yoga girls, so I just popped that up in the corner. And there we go. That finished off that card. Next card, similar vibes. Same kind of concept for the card. This time I made the word breathe using those alphabet dies. And again, those are stacked for a little bit of dimension. Again, I used that tiny little sticker. This worked out perfectly because this sticker is so reminiscent of the pattern on this paper. Like, they just go together perfectly. I love it when this happens because these are not like, these are different manufacturers. These are not the same collection, but they just worked out together so well. Again, the paper was not wide enough to cover my card base, so I just added a little strip of gold and then a little bit of embossing on the edge. I just went to my stash and pulled out a folder that I thought matched the pattern paper. These are just some wonky circles. I picked these up at Joann's probably 5 or 6 years ago. I don't know if it's still available. Once again, if I can find the link, I'll put it down below. But really, anything works here. You just want to add a little bit of extra texture. And then for the inside of the card, just a little strip of paper at the bottom. Now for the rest of the cards, I did go ahead and open up the second set of stickers with my fun little yoga people on it. So that's what we're going to see here. We have this one, kept this one simple. Again, it's using the same layout pretty much as from that first set of cards. Just a reminder, the first set, they looked like this. And on this second set, you can see I'm just using the leftovers here. Now for this card, the only thing popped up is the sticker. And otherwise the rest of it is flat, so this will mail just fine. The paper in the background, once again, this was a supplemental paper I pulled in from the Jen Hadfield pattern paper pad in my stash. But again, the colors just worked out so beautifully. This one says just breathe. And just a reminder, the sentiment is from the Penny Black Yoga Builder stamp set. And just that little scrap in the inside. Love it. Love it, love it. Next card, again, using that same kind of layout, just going with it because it worked. So, you know, why reinvent the wheel? Again, a leftover circle scrap, backed on some gold. I had a wonky size piece of paper. That's the thing about using scraps. It really forces you to stretch your creativity because you have a bunch of pieces of paper that are dimensions you normally wouldn't cut them down to. But now that they're that size, how can you use them? What can you do with them? It's like putting together a little creative puzzle. So for this one, instead of cutting this paper down so that it would have like a border all the way around it, I just left the scrap how it was. I thought it looked really cool. And just to have this little edge here, which again uses that same embossing folder. I would not normally do something like this, but I love the way it looked and I love the way this worked out. There we go. Next up, very similar to the last two. Once again, just kind of going with the layout that works. I think I hadn't, this was the backside of one of the papers. I can't remember which one. I don't think I used this backside. Oh, this was the backside of the like diamond paper. This one. These two, it's like the A and the B side. And I hadn't used this on any of the other cards, so I decided to use it here, and I love the way this turned out. There we go. Something I don't think I've pointed out yet. For the first batch of cards, I embossed the sentiments in green. But for this set of cards, I decided to instead emboss the sentiment in gold. And that was mainly because I was using the gold paper to mat a lot of the circles, and I was using these gold gems. I like to have an accent color, if possible, 3 places on the card to help it feel cohesive and like it's meant to be there. So the gold sentiment, the gold circle, the gold gems, gold, gold, gold. It just really helps. You don't have to do that. I mean, this card, there's only gold in one place and it still works. But whenever I use an accent color, a lot of times I'm thinking, how can I have it in 3 different places on the card to make it cohesive? So there's that one. Next up, we have this card. At this point, I was getting down on some of my scraps, so I tore off the teensiest, tiniest edge of the paper so that I could have a little torn border. And I really like the way that this worked out. And again, gold sentiment, gold gems, gold on the edge of the pattern paper. I thought this one was really nice. Okay. Next up, we have this girl. So cute. I left this sentiment strip super long. I had tiny little bits of paper, but I cut them down so it looks like there's a full piece in the back, even though there's really not. And I liked the way this one turned out too. All right, our last yoga card. Love this one. Again, this was just taking the papers I had, layering them together, kind of seeing what I could do. And this one, there's only the gold in 2 places and the card still works. It's not like it's missing anything. So if you can't get it in 3 places, that's okay. There we go. Now the last 2 cards, this is when I was really like practically no paper left. What can we do? How do we make this work? I was out of my stickers. Well, I was out of the yoga girls for the stickers. So at this point, the only stickers I had left were these kind of like decorative accent stickers. And so I decided I needed something else to be the focal point for my last 2 cards. So I went through and pulled out these die cut stickers from Capital Chic Designs. I'll talk more about those in a second. So this first card is this one here. Love how this turned out. I did have a big piece of paper. And this, I had, one of the papers I had a giant cut apart with a lot of text on it. And this scrap had a little bit of text on the edge that I didn't want. So I just tore the edges on 3 sides to get rid of that text. And I thought it made a really nice landing spot to put my girl so she's not just like floating around on the card. The sentiment on this one, it's from the same stamp set. This one here, whatever makes your soul happy, do that. And I did have to stamp it out multiple times, and I just cut it out so that instead of one long sentiment that wouldn't fit on the card, I had these tiny ones that I could put, and I angled them so they were a little bit whimsical. I love the way this turned out. For the background, I just grabbed an embossing folder and embossed a piece of white cardstock. I happen to use this folder from Spellbinders with the leaves on it. If I can find what it's called, I'll link it in the description box down below. But really, you don't really see the design on this. It's just adding a little bit of texture and interest. So any embossing folder you have on hand would work. I like how this came out. And I picked this girl from this set because of, you know, she's brown. There's the pinks and the corals, a little pop of yellow, which a lot of the pattern papers did have that little gold yellow pop, and then the blue. I thought this worked out really well. Again, it looks like these were made to go together, even though they weren't. And again, I like these stickers because all of the stickers are so diverse. There's so many different types of people represented in her designs. I think she stopped for a little bit, but I think she does have her website up and running again. I picked these up when she had these in Michael's. I don't know if she's still sold in stores. She might just be sold on her website, but if you like making cards that represent a wide array of people, definitely check out Capital Chic Designs. Her stuff is phenomenal, as you can see here. So I did pop my girl up a little bit. And something else when I was designing this card, This die cut has a thick white border, so I wanted to make sure I included white on the card multiple places. So the sentiment is on white, the background has some white in it, and we have the little white edge of the torn paper, so that it feels purposeful for the white to be an accent color on this card. And then just a strip of pattern paper on the inside. And there we go. Love this one. And our last card. This is the scrappiest of all the cards. At this point, what I mainly had left was the edges of the branding strips. A couple small chunks of pattern paper, but mostly at this point it was just branding strips. And I glued them all together and made this piece of like pattern paper on the background, and it works because all the colors still work together and they're all from the same collection. Again, the edges, I wanted a little bit of texture because the strips I had were not long enough to cover the card. So for this one, I used these like rainbows or arches from Spellbinders. I have no clue what this is called, but again, if I can find it, I will link it in the description box below the video. But once again, any embossing folder will work here because it's just about adding the texture. The reason I chose that one is because you have these like rainbow arches here, so yeah, but you don't really see that much of them, so any folder will work. Again, I used that same sentiment, and I really just liked the way that looked on the card and the inside. There we have it. So from scraps and one set of stickers, well, I guess we pulled in a couple extra things too, but from mostly scraps, we were able to make an additional 11 cards. Can you believe that? I'm a little bit shocked. I thought I'd maybe make like 6 or 7 because I knew I could get 6 for these guys, but wowzers, 11. That means in total from those 4 pieces of paper, 2 sets of stickers, and a couple little supplements here and there, I got 20 cards. Insane. So we got these ones, and then a little recap. And a little recap on the first set. I'll also show you the insides of these cards. Nothing fancy. Again, had this paper, so just a little scrap with the girl. Oh, for these ones, I forgot I did this. I did opt to go ahead. I don't usually put liner on both sides of the cards, but just to cover up the die cut circle, I went ahead and put a liner on both sides of these on the inside. And I think that looks really nice. These ones I wasn't paying attention, and I swapped them, but it still works, still cute. No one's gonna send me back this card or ask for a refund because the pattern paper's on this side. It's only a mistake to me. Okay. Gotta remind myself of that sometimes. I loved so much using these papers and these stickers. It was, what a crafty treat. What a crafty treat. So, oops, don't throw those cards like I did. But there we have it. That's all 20 of the cards. Yeah, I'm so happy with how these turned out. I also want to show you guys what I had left over. So the pattern paper I didn't use. I have this piece here. Could I turn this into a card? Yes, but love the sentiment, but this just feels a little blah to me. I'd want to do more with it. So I probably at some point will just use the background to make something. I have this little tiny scrap here and this scrap. So yeah, that's what's left. Could I make something with this? Yes. Will I at some point in the future? Probably. But for now, I think I'm good on making with this stuff. And for the stickers, these are the stickers I have left over. Again, if I really pushed myself, could I make something with these bits? Probably, but I feel like I have done enough with this collection, and I'm good with just kind of sticking this in my stash and saying one day down the road it'll probably be perfect for something else. I will be keeping some of these for personal use. I will be selling some of these, and I'm sending these off to a wonderful friend of mine who does yoga and teaches yoga as well. So some of these are going to go to her. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed these cards. I hope this inspires you to look through your stash and see what pattern papers, stickers, or other ephemera you have on hand that you could show a little bit of crafty love to. If you enjoyed this video, please, please, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps other people to find my channel and join our crafty community here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see all the videos I put out, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you ring the notification bell, you get notified every time I post a new video. And how wonderful is that? Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.